Gentlemen, exactly 1 year ago, to this day, literally to this day, we got the reveal of the Deadpool and the Wolverine suit. I don't know if you guys remembered it, but it literally July 10th,
Popped up in my TikTok
2023.
on this day today.
Yeah. We got that beautiful image of Deadpool and Wolverine walking. Literally that same Wednesday, we recorded a video that never did get to see the light of day, talking about it, talking about how excited we were for the project. Um, Fast forward a year, we are less than 3 weeks away from seeing this movie. And I think it's needless to say, this is probably our most anticipated movie since Across the Spider-Verse. If not, I would say the more I get closer to this, my excitement is a little more.
Ooh.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I would say so. I would agree with that. You knew there was something else after Across the Spider-Verse. I don't really know what's coming next after this.
Yeah. And you kind of had an idea of what was going on with it.
Yeah.
It's like we still have a lot of questions.
Oh.
Again, we're hitting the hype train into overdrive, and today that starts with a deep dive into the Wolverine character. This year is the 50th anniversary of Wolverine. That's why there's a lot of merch coming out, and it's probably why this movie is also landing on the year that it does. But Wolverine, also known as Logan or James Howlett, is probably one of Marvel's most iconic characters. I would dare say right next to Spider-Man. Right? I don't think that's that far of a stretch to say. He was first introduced in 1974 in comics. For those that don't know, his book was not an X-Men book. It was actually in The Incredible Hulk. Now, if you're a deep comic collector like myself, you know that it's debatable if his first appearance is Hulk 180 or if it's 181. Again, that's not the conversation we're going to have here. But the first teaser, at least, again, if you want to call that a first full appearance, that's up to you. But his first full teaser was at least in Hulk 180, which was October of 1974. So, gentlemen, one quick question before we kind of delve into more of his, his power set. I think a lot of people know about that, but where does Wolverine rank for you in your favorite heroes? And Spider-Man, I'll kick this first part over to you.
Because of this bad boy, I can't say he's number one, but I would say Wolverine is probably up there in top 5 at number 4.
So he's top 4. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
I had to mentally go through my list again and make sure I was putting him at the right spot,
That's good. Number 4. It's impressive.
Who's he joining the likes of up there, just so people can understand a reference besides Spider-Man?
Right, Spider-Man, Batman, Iron Man, and Wolverine.
Oh, damn. Crossovers. I mean, that's high praise.
Yeah.
That's pretty high praise.
I'm hoping after Deadpool and Wolverine, he might move up to 3.
I'm expecting a lot of people to move Wolverine up their list after this, which is nuts, which we'll get to, but it's just crazy to think about. It's just crazy to think about. Listen, for me, he's number 1. He's always been number 1. I fell in love with Wolverine the moment that I ever saw him at an ice cream shop in an arcade. It was insane. I always remember seeing that. I always remember seeing Wolverine fight, and I was just like, this is awesome. And then flash forward to the series. That's my 1 spot. Very close to the 2 for Spider-Man. Throw Magneto, throw Storm, throw War Machine on there. You round out my top 5. I am pumped that we're spending as much time as we're going to talking about this. And I'm excited to see what they do with this character live action in an official freaking suit that we're finally going to get in 3 weeks. But yeah, top spot.
Yeah. I've thought about this a lot over the past couple days, and I think for me personally, Wolverine has been, I think, always in my top 10. But the older I get and the more I think and learn about Wolverine as a character, he has crept up to top three, if not top two. Probably up there right against Spider-Man for me personally. But yeah, it's again, he's one of those characters that he just has that it factor of when you look at him, he's just undeniable. He's undeniably cool. There's something about him that you want to see in action. You want to see in movement, and he just holds your attention every time, be it in comics, video games, movies, whatever it is.
Fortnite.
Fortnite, yeah.
I mean, dude, think about it. Like once the 90s really hit, I swear it's almost like every single year something came out and Wolverine's featured in it. Like it's nuts how frequent we see Wolverine, but like I never feel like we're oversaturated and there's too much Wolverine in our face. But there's a game, a movie, a show, something for the last like 30 years that's just Wolverine is that like badass character that's going to be in it that everyone wants to play, watch, see, be. That's really cool.
Yeah. And you think about it, how many characters, I mean, obviously there's some that do have an older history, but within that 50 years, in terms of comparing him to those other heroes, 50 years is not that long.
Yeah.
And just how popular he is and how popular he is continuing to become and rise in the ranks of a lot of people's lists, that's super impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when again you compare that to someone like Superman, Batman, who have had 30 years almost on him in terms of character history.
It's wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah, no, fantastic character. But Lou, hit us with some, for those that don't know, right? If you lived under a rock and you don't know who Wolverine is, tell us about some of his powers and abilities.
Yeah, I mean, most people know him for kind of the two core things, right? The healing factor and the adamantium coated claws. But the cool thing about him that I think some people forget is like you get deeper into it, right? You have your healing factor, your adamantium skeleton and claws, but the enhanced sense piece is pretty cool, where his senses are heightened to superhuman levels. And it's always so iconic is his sense of smell. And I think that's always something that's very cool as you go through animated series and even like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, like they make a point to kind of showcase that, which kind of does heighten his, battle acumen. But he's still got the strength. He definitely has the agility and his combat skills. It's nuts because he actually is a very skilled hand-to-hand combatant. He in Marvel was born, in the late 19th century. So he has a lot of experience, right? He's been through tons of wars, conflicts. It's kind of helped shape who he is in terms of personality and kind of his sense of justice. But I mean, he's been alive for a long time, right? So kind of he's not immortal, but that longevity piece is still going to be there. But my favorite thing, and maybe we'll get into it, and when it comes to the gaming piece, when we talk about that, is like animal instincts combined with everything else just makes him just an insane fighter and adversary, or you just don't want to be lined up across Wolverine. Plain and simple.
Never have, never will.
Dude, you never know, bro. Motenda.
He's the best there is at what he does, and what he does isn't very nice. It's silly, but yeah, no, it's funny that probably the most basic thing that people associate him with his claws is still one of the coolest things to this day, and just how people always portray that, and how much that's kind of been, I don't want to say copied, but like referenced to at least, where people see 3 claw marks and they're like, yo, that's instantly, yo, Wolverine, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, again, tell us a more iconic character than that, or a more iconic power set, you know?
I'm gonna be honest with you real quick. I think why I really like him so much from a power set perspective is he doesn't have, like, if you go through the rankings of like, oh, is it an omega level mutant? Is it an alpha level? Something like that. Like when you break this down and you look at characters who really can't affect anything away from them, like Cyclops is going to have his optic blast, right? He's got range. He can do all that kind of stuff. Jean, Professor X, Magneto, you can affect more things around you and manipulate, matter, like Iceman, Human Torch, those different types of characters that can kind of go beyond. But you always see Logan or Wolverine be the character who people just put toe to toe with them. And I think that was a really good display of X-Men 97 in the beginning when they were fighting the Sentinels. And then at the end, when he's fighting off against Magneto, you're like, dude, this guy is an ace. No question.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, when you look at it, and Spider Brando, you can kind of run through this for us. You see how many appearances outside of comics he has had. And SB, again, over to you in terms of his video games and movies.
He's got a lot of video games. Starting back from the Uncanny X-Men, 1989. Another X-Men, 1989. And then 92. Arcade games, Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge in 92 as well. 93 had just the X-Men on Sega Genesis. There's just a lot of 90s games on here. A lot of them I personally never heard of, but Lou mentioned earlier as well about how, like, throughout the 90s he felt like there's just like a new Wolverine project every day, and that's how it feels with video games. There's X2 Wolverine's Revenge in 2003. The Mutant Academy 1 and 2 also I skipped over in the 2000s. Marvel vs. Capcom in 98 that featured Wolverine. X-Men vs. Street Fighter in 96 that featured Wolverine. So many. One of my personal favorites, though, was Ultimate Alliance from 2006 that had Wolverine as a playable character in there. And like, he was part of my team. He was him, Nightcrawler, and Spider-Man and Ghost Rider were like,
that's squad.
What a goated team.
Squad. I was like, it's just amazing. And it was just so fun to just beat the crap out of people. He made a guest appearance in Spider-Man Web of Shadows as well. And I know one positive about that was the interactions that Spidey had with Wolverine was cool.
Yeah.
And when we get to the comics later, there's a lot of cool Spider-Man Wolverine comics.
Did you guys, I went back and I watched the clip of that and I totally forgot about it because I played the game. But when you make the choice, after Wolverine gets taken over by the symbiote and symbiote Spider-Man's there and he rips him in half, I completely forgot about that until we were prepping for this. And I was like, oh my God, it was savage. Wild. It was awesome.
Yeah. Web of Shadows is a very underrated game, I think.
Yeah.
It really is. And another game that came out a year after Web of Shadows that's kind of underrated, but more rated than its movie that it was based off of, X-Men Origins Wolverine, 2009. That game was freaking beautiful. I don't care, like, looking back, how bad the graphics could be I don't care what anybody says. As a child, being 8 or 9 years old, playing that game as Wolverine, just running around, clawing people, jumping around. It had some great freaking mechanics for its time and just kind of open world a little bit. I loved it. That was one of my favorite games growing up on PS2. I think it was PS2.
PS3.
PS3. Oh, I played it on the 360 then. I was a 360 person.
Oops.
Or Xbox person.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I also think people remember it a lot also just because of how detached it was from the movie and how wild the game is.
It was very different.
Yeah, because like you fight a Sentinel in that game.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Sentinels to be found in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Spoiler alert in case you haven't seen that movie, but There's not a single Sentinel in that game, but you fight a giant one actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild how the different like approach to the story they took with this. And again, only on the PlayStation 3 and 360 version, because I played it. I played the PS3 version years later. I originally had it on the PSP. The PSP version follows very closely the movie.
RIP.
Yeah, I love the PSP, but the PSP version follows very closely to the movie.
Interesting.
You know what's funny about that though is you go through and you look at a lot of these, a lot of these games up until this point that we're talking about. The more successful games, obviously, the game mechanics and the graphics and the gameplay and all of that obviously matters. But you find a lot of people talking about these games for the story and how faithful you can play as a Wolverine. Like, people know what it's like to be a Wolverine and they want to get in the game. Similar to what we just talked about not that long ago about Spider-Man 2. It's a chance for you to take control of a beloved character and kind of do what they do. And so when the story incorporates, to that point, a Sentinel, you know that Sentinels are synonymous with Wolverine. There's always those moments. And I think later on, maybe the new future Wolverine game's going to have stuff like that. But you want to have your chance to be Wolverine and just mess up a Sentinel, because it's hard for him to do. He shouldn't be able to do these things, but he does, and he does it in a really cool way. That's something I always love about these games, is when they get it right and you can be and you can play and you can see it and execute it. That's like a satisfying gameplay.
Yeah, 100%. And I think one SB, a big one that you said, but probably one of my favorite versions of Wolverine out there is the Marvel vs. Capcom series, and just the Capcom fighting games in general, like X-Men Children of the Atom, which again, if you've been following us, there's a re-release of the collection coming out. But I always remember Ultimate Alliance, or not Ultimate Alliance, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and just the way they animated his Weapon X super, his level 3, where he is just clawing across the screen and it's just leaving claw marks everywhere, and you're messing up the opponent and you're draining their life bar. It makes you feel like Wolverine, go like a tank going through people, and it's such a good feeling.
You hit that berserker mode and it's over. Like, that's special when it comes on and you're just done. I always remember just like screaming. There'd be a KO, and I went through controllers when I'd play with Wolverine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But his video game appearances has really been matched up to with his movie appearances. Now, obviously, the live action, when we think about Wolverine, it is always going to be the one and only Hugh Jackman. This started back in X-Men, back in 2000, went into X2, went into X3, The Last Stand, Origins Wolverine, The Wolverine. He was basically the main character of Days of Future Past. He had a cameo in Deadpool 2. I mean, depending how you want to count it, because it is just kind of like edited footage from Origins. And then the last time we did see him was in the highly, highly acclaimed Logan back in 2017. So, guys, it has been 7 years since we've seen Wolverine on the big screen, and that's a big hole in the superhero genre, I think. And yeah, it does, right?
Like, Logan was really 7 years ago.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So for you guys, out of all these movies, right? Obviously, they're going to be different qualities, right? We know that some are not going to be liked, but which has your favorite, your personal favorite portrayal of Wolverine?
Husby, I'll let you take this one.
Days of Future Past.
Ooh, okay. Tell, spill.
I really really liked Wolverine in there, and how he was kind of the one that had to obviously go back to right wrongs. Or I haven't watched the movie in a decent amount of time, I'm not gonna lie, but obviously Wolverine had his huge role in there.
I gotta go all the way back to 2000. I gotta say his first appearance. I always remember hearing him when they're in that bar and Rogue's there, and he's in the cage, and then it's Logan, but then you hear the ring announcers call him the Wolverine, and he says it in his way, and you're just like, yes, yes. That for me, whenever I think of Wolverine, I always go back to the first appearance for him and Hugh Jackman, and just how he did it and made Wolverine kind of feel his own. And then after that, I was like, dang, can't wait till he gets his suit. But little did I know I'd have to wait 24 years for that. But it's I have patience. If anyone says I'm not a patient person, just be like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. You know how long I waited for this stupid suit?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's never forget, your first Hugh Jackman appearance as Logan and Wolverine. So always iconic.
For sure. For me, the Wolverine 2013. That's my personal favorite. Again, part of his appeal as a character is just him going through people. And I think none of the movies, the only one that comes really close is Logan. But for me, the Wolverine just does it just a little more for me, where it's like he is going against so many people throughout so much of that movie. It's insane. It's always him getting ganged up on, and I just love that. But it also told like a more personal story for him.
Yeah.
Again, Logan did as well.
Yeah.
But I just like the story in the Wolverine a little more. Yeah, the Wolverine. I just think it's so cool, and I always remember when I forget his character's name in the movie, but when Sonata, the character he plays, when he stabs Wolverine and it just does nothing, and he's like, "What are you?"
Yeah.
Like it's still one of the coolest scenes of them fighting throughout that house, and and there's also something to be said that the dedication that Hugh Jackman has to Wolverine's character needs to be praised a lot. Because I know that a lot of people, and I know that including us here, we say that he doesn't fully feel like the Wolverine yet. But his encapsulation of like Logan, that character, it's perfect. It's perfect. And the fact that he's been willing to do this as long as he has, again, 24 years on the character, a very long time to portray a character and basically have your career revolve around that. But not only that, to be remembered, but to take pay cuts and to take risks with these films, because I don't know, and I don't think a lot of people remember this, but Logan was a risk when it came out. And he took a huge pay cut to make that movie.
Well, dude, even to that point, if we don't have if we don't have Deadpool, understand, but I really think if we didn't get Logan, I think there'd be a lot more questions about Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah.
Tons more questions of like, can they really? Like, yeah, they did Logan. Like they've done that hard R type of film with him already, and that kind of, you know what I mean? Like it just kind of like eased what is to come after that. So I'll agree with that. Logan doesn't get as much credit as it should, in my mind.
Yeah, and I don't think Hugh Jackman does either sometimes.
Yeah.
Because again, him taking that pay cut, the risks. You read the interviews of how he had to keep the physique, and it just sounds honestly terrible to do that. But he did it so he could really look the part and make you feel like, yes, that man is Wolverine or Logan.
Yeah. Really quickly, I wanted to ask you guys this question. What is the most iconic moment that you have, or the most memorable moment of a Hugh Jackman Wolverine?
I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. Him fighting Sonata in the Wolverine, I think, is like one of those top tier moments that people forget, and it's just so cool. It's so cool. But other ones that come to mind, Silver Samurai. The first scene of Logan, of him like really starting to show just how violent he can get and how violent the movie will get. I think shocked people to the core because I don't think people were expecting that for it to go that way. I know the trailer kind of set it up, but that opening scene really sets the tone very fast.
One that I hate this movie, but it has a very good moment in there. And Hero having to Hero knows what I'm talking about. X-Men Origins Wolverine blows up a bunch of cars. Is it a bunch of? I don't know if it's a bunch of cars. But
Yeah, the helicopter.
yeah, it was a helicopter. Yeah. Goes and claws his way through a helicopter and just walks away from the scene with the whole bombs bursting behind him. The Batman style, or you could say the Batman stole it from Origins. That was a pretty iconic and badass moment, especially just as seeing Hugh Jackman just walk away from that. Beautiful.
Bro, I gotta go back to the Wolverine, the train scene. I always think about the train scene and like the way that they set it up. There's no music or anything. It's just this man launching himself and just claws, and like it was such a cool scene. That entire movie has some of my favorite fights and action scenes that Hugh Jackman's done in Logan, when he's like, it's that final last ditch effort when he's in the forest and he's juicing up and he's just like rabid, just smoking people. That was awesome. The early days and the original, when he tries to break the machine on the Statue of Liberty and his claws are bending and those types of things, and like you really just establish him as like, oh, that dude that saved the day. Gosh, I could think of so many more. Him busting out in like his live action Weapon X suit when he's coming out of the little tank, and he's just looking ripped and massive. That was the first thing I thought of when you said like his workout regimen. I was like, God, this guy's always yoked for this role. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Even now, I mean, again, he didn't need to get as ripped as he did for Deadpool and Wolverine, but he did it. I know it's a little more covered up, obviously, because of the suit, but you can tell he put in the work.
Oh.
And if you follow Hugh Jackman on his social medias, you saw, no, he was going in for something he probably didn't need to go as in for. But
dedication.
It's the dedication to the character.
Dedication.
One last question to kind of, I guess, round out this whole chat on Wolverine. You know, I think Wolverine is one of those characters that he's given us a lot of moments, right? And we just talked about a lot of them throughout this entire part so far. Is there anything that is still like a dream moment for you that you want to see Wolverine be a part of? It could be anything. It could be film, games, but what's your dream Wolverine moment?
I'm always locked and loaded with Wolverine crap.
Go for it. Unload all of them, because I think that's what we need. People need to remember he's a dream character.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. From a live action perspective, Hulk versus Wolverine team up with Spider-Man, Wolverine and the Avengers. If I can get those as him as kind of like that solo crossover type of character, I'm fine with that. Because the thing that I've always liked, and you saw this kind of in the animated series, is sometimes he feels like that rogue, like floating type of character. Sometimes it's like, are you really a part of the X-Men? Are you the leader of the X-Men? Are you the ace of the X-Men? Where do you fit? Especially, if he's kind of beefing with Scott over Jean, or he's kind of doing his thing of just, I'm just going to be badass and not listen to any rules, and I'm unhinged. Like, don't touch me, because if you do, you're going to lose a hand. That kind of stuff I would love to see in live action. But for me, live action, it's just moments. I would love to get that. Yeah, I know 180, 181. What's the first appearance? But it's not going to be a tiger stripe suit. It's going to be this one that we have here. It's more of astonishing-ish like. But if in 3 weeks I see the Hulk and Wolverine go at it somehow, some way, I'll lose it. I'll flip a chair. I don't know. I'll take my shoe off and throw it at the screen. I don't know what I'll do, but that would be number one. Yeah, bro, that would be number one. That would be my Cap with, finally having his Mjolnir moment.
That would be heat. I would love that so much. Well, you kind of took, or not took, but you kind of said all the ideas I had for my top Wolverine moments.
I stole him. I'm sorry.
But I guess I will go with a very specific one, a reimagination of the Todd McFarlane Perceptions storyline from the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man comic run, where Spidey and Wolverine pretty much team up to chase after Wendigo and find out like what's going on with a bunch of murders and stuff. That was one of the first comics I've read getting into comics. I remember I got like the Todd McFarlane spin-off, not like his Amazing Spider-Man run, but his like it's legit just Spider-Man series, and that was, I believe, like one of the last issues in there to read, and I was just blown away. I was like, holy shit, we got Wolverine in here, and just their whole dynamic together was awesome. So if I could get that on the screen for like a movie, I don't know how the heck it's gonna happen, but that would be cool.
That'd be clutch.
And then if they get a Deadpool in there too, of just Spidey, Wolverine, and Deadpool,
$3 billion movie.
that would be freaking $3
They're
zillion.
$1 billion each.
Yeah.
They're $1 billion each. What about your hero?
A team up that I really want that I think is really not a lot of people think about, Wolverine and Cap.
Oh, bro, I'm all for that. What is it, like season 5, episode 3, or something like that? The animated series when you get the OG team up. I might be missing on that, but I would love, not Sam.
No, not Steve. Sam. Yeah, Steve Rogers, and I mean, you could even set this during like World War II.
Oh my!
I think, and just to see the dynamic that they would have in that whatever project they would do this in, right? I just think would be so cool. It would be so insane to see. And again, you would start to establish more of your world building type stuff where you show that, yeah, these characters have history outside of like the quote unquote mainline, main storyline. And Wolverine and Cap is one of those team ups that just makes sense, right? Because Cap majority of the time has a lot of people's respect. And Wolverine is someone that doesn't respect a lot of people, but Cap is one of those that he clearly does because he knows who he is and what he does. And just how their sense of like justice and duty goes together. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't think that about Wolverine, but that's the beauty of Wolverine's character. He's not as one-dimensional as people think and don't realize sometimes. So yeah, I think that's probably my other dream team up aside from what you guys said, because I do kind of agree that if Wolverine and Hulk fight each other and it is a glorious mess of a battle and it's just genuine, like they are tearing at each other full force, I'm ripping the Regal Cinema chair off the floor. I'm just letting them know right now. Bill me for it later.
Yeah.
It'll cost me everything I got, but you know what?
It's that's expensive. But what better movie to pay for? Real quick, I just thought of this. Like, dude, how cool would it be if we got an MCU Wolverine or just even a Hugh Jackman or something, or this variant who is captured by the government or somebody, and they're probing his mind, and he gives you 4 different flashbacks or 5 different flashbacks of moments with heroes. You get your Cap 30 minutes, you get your Spider-Man, you get your Avengers, you get your X-Men specific, and like, I don't know, something else. And like, you just have these stories that they're telling of all of these crossovers and these characters. Like, give me a whole Japan arc and stuff too. Oh my gosh, bro. I'd lose it. I'd lose it. There's so many cool things they could do.
So many. And if for those thinking that, maybe that wouldn't work, I want you guys to remember Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
And think about the ending scene of when he goes back, his mind goes back to the future. And just the sense of joy you get that Wolverine finally has a good ending and gets to be with the people that he cares about. it's so nice. It's such a good feeling for a character that goes through so much and is very rough on the outside, but on the inside he's one of the, I mean, not nicest all the time, but he's up there. He's emotionally kind and
Yeah.
he can be vulnerable. Uh, did you just convince me Wolverine's my top? Maybe, I don't know.
Ooh. Listen, maybe it's a 1A 1B kind of thing.
At the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, he might be just 1A.
Full recency bias when that happens. Full, because if it, listen, I'm not going to say it. You guys know what I'm saying. And I'm definitely wrong. But as we've gotten more things that have come out specifically from Marvel, it seems like they're paying more attention to Hugh Jackman's character than I personally was expecting, which makes me believe that he is going to stick around for a little bit.
And I know people were saying, "Hey, he's done though." But listen,
I don't know.
if Marvel is throwing Disney money at him, why not? He ain't done. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. Again, it's that joke we've had since the very beginning of when we first kind of talked about this. I guarantee you, when they went to talk to Hugh Jackman, they gave him a blank check and they said, "Put whatever you want." And he was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, put whatever you want. We want you back. The only thing is you have to wear the costume," according to Kevin Feige.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Cool, let's do it."
And he's been so good in the promos and the clips and the commercials.
Oh my
like
God.
he's bought in, baby. Bought all the way in. And that is just like +1, +2, +3, plus, like I'm at 200% hype now.
Yeah. And it goes to show that when you have people who genuinely care and love the project that they're going for, and it's clear that Sean Levy, Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman all have a love for what they are making in this, it shows. It shows very much, especially the fact that I think it also came out like last week that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, they're going to team up again, but for something non-superhero like. So you can see that the friendship is there.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it from the announcement. The chemistry is going to be off the charts.
Even these commercial trailers that they do as their characters, it's just getting me hyped too. Like they just had the Bachelorette one, and Hugh was all posed up as like a lying down Wolverine, like how there's always the lying down Deadpool. I was like, oh my God, that's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and Deadpool trying to explain like what certain phrases mean. Guys, this movie is going to be something special.
Yeah.
Genuinely. I think I'm all in on saying that. I think I was a little reluctant at first because we didn't know much, but now that we've gotten more marketing, now that we've seen a little more of it, it's like, no, this has a certain air about it. And half of it comes from Wolverine.
And listen, I'm throwing this out here, and this is no shade to anyone who I'm finally saying the same things as, who are like, this is going to be the greatest movie ever. Like, yeah, okay. But there's no way that you could know that this is going to be the best trailer, the best blah, blah, blah. Like, it has continuously exceeded the ungodly high expectations that it's had throughout what Hero had talked about and what Spider-Man had talked about pretty much a year ago, getting that first look of the costume through the strike, through everything like that. Like, you have something very special when you're continuously raising the bar that is already high. Guys, is this gonna pull like No Way Home money?
Yes, 100%.
It's cracking 1 zillion.
Oh, okay.
I'm a lock it in right now. This might be close to 2.
Oh.
I wouldn't be surprised if this made like 1.9.
I don't think it's gonna be that high. It's still rated R.
Guys, I don't know. I know it's rated R, but the one concern that we had going into this, they've continuously alleviated at every step of the way, and we've been calling for it the entire time. Feige, please get in front of these projects, give fans an expectation, remove all the crap, let them focus on how good this is going to actually be. And that's literally what they've done, from the head of Marvel Studios, the director, to the people a part of the project, to literally the stars of the show are like, forget the BS. Go see this amazing movie because that's what we put in front of you. Don't worry about the junk. The junk is going to figure itself out. Like, I could have never imagined that.
No.
And the amount of buy-in that the greatest of skeptics have, like, it's winning people over before it even hit theaters. And how many spoilers have really been protected for the most part.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
I
I
want
mean,
to see it twice.
I'm going to see it twice.
3, maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
Because I'll go see it with people. I'll be like, oh, you haven't seen this yet? Yeah, let's go.
I'll go with you. Yeah. Let's go right now. What time you want to go?
Yeah.
12 a.m. Let's go.
We know how long the movie's going to be. We have about 2.5 hours. So.
Yeah. And again, half of this comes from just Wolverine's character. And this movie would not be as big as it is without the rich 50-year history of this character who is just undeniable in every way. I would dare say, outside of Spider-Man, Marvel's most iconic character. And will continue to remain that way, if not become the most, if they handle him right from here on out.